Welcome back to the Get Unstuck and On Target podcast. I'm Mike O'Neill with Bench Builders, and we help growing companies, especially manufacturers, improve their people, process, and planning systems so they can scale smarter and faster. Joining me today is Heather Williams. Heather is the VP of Client Success and Broker Development for Chattanooga-based Steam Logistics. I met Heather at the annual meeting of the International Business Council. We had a rich conversation, and I've asked Heather to share her insights on client success and how to provide best-in-class service. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for having me here today.
I mentioned that we had a rich conversation. In a short conversation, I kind of walked away saying, you know what, our listeners need to know more about Heather. They need to know more about Steam Logistics. And I think what really caught my attention too is some things that I think Steam Logistics is doing that really differentiates. But as a starting point, tell us a little bit more about who is Steam Logistics.
Yeah, so we are a third-party logistics company based here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We've recently expanded our branches over several cities across the United States, and we kind of help facilitate the movement of shipments from door to door. So we are internationally, domestically, we offer a drayage providing service as well as customs clearance for consumers all over. And we have been in Chattanooga. We were the international arm that broke away from Access America in 2012 and kind of developed our branches and developed our modes of transportation that we offer, and have been based here in Chattanooga since then and are thriving and doing well.
You mentioned a term, drayage. There may be folks out there who don't know what that means. What is drayage?
Yeah, so when a container comes across the ocean on a vessel, on a ship, it arrives at the port of destination on our shorelines here in the United States. And from that move, we have to take that container from the port of destination to a warehouse where it's then unloaded and then put on the back of a truck. And so that short little small distance move is what we call drayage.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Logistics and supply chains. Boy, those terms come up, and sometimes they're used interchangeably, but they're not the same, are they?
Well, so the supply chain is going to be all of, what encompasses all things freight oriented, and logistics is kind of figuring out how we move that freight. So they're not exactly the same, but they are kind of used together often, and specifically with me, I guess.
Well, as you know, at this annual meeting that I was referring to, that was the topic of conversation, and that is supply chain and the challenges. And one of your officials was one of the panelists, and I got to know a little bit more about Steam Logistics kind of in that process.
Yeah.
Now that you told us a little bit about Steam Logistics, I introduce you as the VP of Client Success and Broker Development. Why don't we break that down? How does Steam Logistics define client success?
Yeah, that's really a great point. So it's a new term coined to the 3PL world. You see it often in tech industry, and it's basically best-in-class customer service. But it developed last May here at Steam. I was actually the first person to kind of get it going here at Steam alongside John Painault, who is our CCO. And what we use it as is it's infrastructure support, not only internally, but also externally. So providing this best-in-class customer experience for our external stakeholders, our clients, but also providing support, resources, education, and development for our internal parties. Steam has grown exponentially, and we are growing fast. And with that explosive growth, you have to have some sort of internal support. So client success encompasses both sides of that spectrum.
See, that's what caught my attention in our conversation, and that is you pointed out client success. People kind of think, okay, you're taking care of your clients, but when you mentioned that client success applies internally, that is making sure that internal client relationships are strong. As you step back and kind of look at you and your role, how would you kind of differentiate assuring client success for external clients versus internal clients. Which ones have you found perhaps most challenging? Which of those two?
Real honestly, with the explosive growth that we've had within Steam, probably internal has been challenging just because we really want to cultivate that natural creativity of our sales folks, our brokers, right? And so with that, everybody has their own opinions. They have their own way that they manage their book of business. But with client success, we're kind of coming alongside and providing that support tool to help them manage that book of business effectively and using our best practices. So we're like a governing light for our internal employees, whereas externally we're very providing a resource tool, education, data analytics for our external stakeholders. We're trying to make sure that they have everything that they need to operate business effectively, and that the relationship that they develop with Steam is very deep and it's a valued partnership. So externally, it's easier, I think, in my opinion, because I'm just providing what it is that we are already internally doing. Internally, the challenge is that there's lots of different brokers that have all their creative way that they manage their business, and we're just trying to kind of come alongside them and help support them in the best way that we know possible. And there's a lot of them too, right? So we have over 700 employees here at Steam now. So there's a lot of hands that we touch. There's a lot of different types of businesses that we touch, and it can be very challenging, but it's also very rewarding.
You mentioned fast growth. On one hand, that is the dream of business, is to experience fast growth, but with fast growth comes some of the challenges that you've kind of made reference to. Can we talk about the industry that you're in right now? It seems as if there are lots of companies that do the kind of work that you do. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's probably anywhere between probably 17,000 and 20,000 brokers across the United States, companies, brokerages. Everywhere from your small two-man operation, all the way up to your big names in the industry that have hundreds and hundreds of offices and many employees. So part of what differentiates Steam individually is, I think, kind of some of the things that we hold dear and near to our hearts. How we handle our engagement, our culture is very, very important. That's a big throw around word right now in our industry and in any kind of corporation is culture. And what we create here is just a unique environment. With that best-in-class service, with those resources, that internal infrastructure that we're providing, it's kind of setting us apart from some of our competitors, because we're able to do more and provide more than maybe your average brokerage. So it's setting us apart. It's creating a very unique environment, and it's something that our customers continue to want to come back to and develop more with.
I want to come back to the culture here in just a moment. One of the things that when you're talking about client success, it kind of crosses my mind. How do you measure client success?
That's a great question. So there's a couple of different things that we do to measure what it is and how we're impacting. Some of that is we do reviews with employees. We're measured by kind of our 30, 60, 90 review on some of those new employees that we bring in. We measure our ability to have more than one customer in different modes of transportation. So let's say that we have a client that's doing international, they get client success involved, and they decide to now do drayage and maybe domestic with us. So we're measured there. We're also measured on our impact across the organization. So our activity, we use a customer management system called Salesforce, and kind of our activity levels, but it's a lot of it is value proposition, and then and then we have some actual physical numbers that we try to obtain and reach.
All right, that's helpful. We touched on very briefly culture, and that is when you're in a very fast growth mode, establishing culture and perpetuating that culture is challenging for any fast growth organizations.
Yeah.
I've read on your company's website about core values, and because that is part of the DNA of your culture, Can we go through those? Because I'd like you to kind of comment on some of these. Let me read them if I might.
Yeah.
Respect the team, never settle, obsess over the customer, greatness requires grit, collaborate and commit, and do right. When I read those off, I know those are very, very familiar to you. Which of those, I think, does that add up? I think that's 6.
Mm-hmm.
Of those 6, which have you found as VP of Client Success and Broker Development? Which of those have been perhaps most challenging?
Let's see. I would say back to team, collaborate, commit, never settle. Greatness requires grit. I would definitely say collaborate and commit is a challenging one, only because that is my intent, right? In my role, it is my job to get our groups to collaborate together. It is my job to work as a liaison across the different modes that we offer here, our different departments. And people have strong opinions about what it is that they want to do or what they want to accomplish or be successful in. And I think that when you can remove egos and kind of lay things out very objectively, you can get a lot done. And when you're kind of this outside person that's involved in everybody's business and how they manage their business, it gives me a great bird's eye view of being able to say, all right, hey guys, like we're working together. We respect our team, right? We're not settling, right? But that collaboration piece is a challenge. And that's hard in any job. That's hard in any role, really. But I feel like that's the challenge that we have been given in this role of client success in the department that I'm building. And we take on challenges, and we're trying to be very constructive and have a servant leadership heart when we go and work alongside these other teams and ensure that what is done in the collaboration is that at the end of the day, our customers served, the people that are involved in it are getting what they need out of it, and we can move forward business as usual.
As we talk about these core values, 3 of those strike me as concepts that I see in other environments. The specific reference would be respect the team,
Mm-hmm.
Obsess over the customer, do right. But there's some unique ones in here that I'd like to ask you to kind of elaborate. And that is, when you mention never settle, that strikes me as a unique core value. What does that mean to Steam Logistics?
So I think when we talk about settling, I think especially in the supply chain world and in transportation in general, we don't want to kind of throw up our hands and just say, all right, we can't figure this out. I think what we are trying to always do is strive for more. How can we serve more? How can we do more? So we don't want to settle and just give up on what it is that we're doing, or how we're providing the solution, or how we're trying to figure out how to engage more or do more. We don't want to give up, and never settling. That goes right alongside with that eager salesman attitude of where you can't stifle that hunger and that drive. You don't settle for anything. You really just keep going. You keep grinding. You keep doing more in order to provide this experience, both for our carriers and our customers.
The one that reads, greatness requires grit. Boy, I just love that, just not only because of the alliteration, but greatness requires grit. That could be misconstrued. That's not necessarily saying that you're not being pompous there. But
no.
When you post that, when y'all talk about greatness requires grit, how do you explain it in a way that people can relate to?
Yeah, so everything that we're trying to do here at Steam is more. It means that you got to dig your heels in. It means that we're going to go above and beyond. It means that you might have to work late. It means that you might have to stay longer. It means that you might have to answer the phone on the weekend. It means that you might have to work through a lunch so that you can provide a solution. And that grittiness, that drive, that desire is instilled here, and it comes from our leadership down. I know that you see Steve. I know that you see his posts on LinkedIn. He is that energized and that jazzed up all the time. And it's because he really wants to drive that behavior within the people that are here on the floor. At our environment, I had to go find a very quiet room to do this recording because our environment's very loud. It's very exciting. It's very almost Wolf of Wall Street type mentality. So that in order for us to be great, in order for us to really do more and achieve all of the things that we try to do here at STEAM, you do have to have a bit of grittiness to you. You have to have a little bit more than just your average go-getter. And I see that in the people that we bring here. I see that in the leadership that we have here. It's from the top down.
Heather, we've talked a bit about providing best-in-class service to your outside customers as well as inside customers. Because of kind of what BenchBuilder does for its client, I'm particularly interested in the inside customers, namely employees.
Yeah.
Something that you shared with me via link, but we've not talked about. But when you're growing that fast, I think you said you've exceeded 700 employees, and that's a rapid growth. There's a program that y'all are part of, you may have even founded it, called End Non-Competes.
Yeah.
And I was intrigued by that. Can you share a little bit about what End Non-Competes is?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a movement that we spearheaded, and I'm really excited about it. It's something that is very passionate to me. I've seen it in our industry, and it's kind of, as Jason kind of coined it, Jason Provencher, our CEO, said, it's a dirty little secret in our industry, and it is. It's something that many folks are given when they very first enter into working for a third-party logistics company and or an asset-based company. But it's a non-compete essentially is going to stifle your ability to take what it is that you have entered into, your career in logistics, and say, all right, if you decide that this isn't going to work for you, you can't go to another competitor in the industry and continue your career. And to me, that is just absolutely ridiculous. That's like taking a hairdresser who's gone to school to learn how to do hair, and then she decides she wants to leave or go somewhere else, and telling her she can't do that. So we've really taken a stance on not providing that. We don't offer one at STEAM Logistics. We do have non-solicits in place because that's protective of our industry, and that makes sense. But a non-compete really can paralyze somebody from growth. And it paralyzes somebody from being able to provide their knowledge to our ultimately our industry. You can't take what it is that you've learned in the industry and go somewhere else if you're under a non-compete. And that means that your career is over there. And it can keep people out of the industry for years. In some places, there's a lot of bribery that goes with non-compete sometimes. And it really doesn't benefit anybody because it's just going to disgruntle an employee who's under one as they work for you, because they'll know that they are trapped, essentially. So STEAM took a stance. We invite others to join us along our end non-competes and eliminate that from the supply chain world so that people can continue to benefit what it is that we do for the supply chain and be able to work where it is that they want to work with the people and the culture that they want to be a part of, and not halt their career.
It seems to me that when you're trying to attract top talent, that going on record that we embrace this elimination of non-competes. Not only do you do it, but you've kind of solicited actually competitors, if you would, to join in that effort. It seems to me that would make STEAM Logistics a more attractive employer option for candidates.
Absolutely. Being transparent is huge, right? That's your first step in creating a really great environment to work in. So having that transparency up front is huge. And because of the fact that we advertised it, when you're 21 coming into our industry straight out of college, and you haven't, you've never really worked anywhere before, we don't want to trap you and make you feel like, hey, this is your one shot, your only shot, and you get here and you're going to be stuck here. And that's really important. And that is going to allow us to be able to recruit better talent, because people will understand that they have freedoms to be able to go and do what they need to do and work where they need to work and provide what their skill sets to this industry. And that's the that's the most important thing, is that we all are part of the supply chain, whether you work for us or whether you work for another logistics company in town. And we don't want to inhibit people to where they cannot bring their talent elsewhere and succeed and be better elsewhere.
That's a perfect illustration of trying to eliminate the sense of an employee feeling stuck
Yeah.
by eliminating these non-competes. Can you share an example where a client perhaps of yours got stuck, and what did it take to get unstuck?
Yeah, so we're solutions oriented, right? And a lot of times our clients get stuck with a number of things. It can happen with their billing processes. It can happen with containers being stuck at the port. It can happen with shipments being hot and needing to go out. I think one of my favorite examples was a client of ours had a very, very unique situation out of the Pacific Northwest, and they needed to take that shipment all the way to Chicago, and they needed it there immediately. They needed it there yesterday. And it was during a time, Q4 last year, there was a lot of equipment shortages. There was a lot of congestion at the ports and lots of different things going on that was making life pretty miserable, especially for our customers. And they reached out. They needed a solution. They needed a solution fast. And because of our deep partnerships and our relationships with the carriers that we have in our network, we were able to provide a quick solution for them. That was going to allow them to save money, and it was going to allow them to get what they needed done and get it there fast. And it was a pretty large ask, but we didn't, we're not in the business of gouging people. We're not in the business of trying to monopolize this market. We're just trying to do what we can do in the best way that we know how to do it. So we provided the solution for them. We were able to get them what they needed on time in a shipment, and it deepen that trust, right? So our external clients, they've got to build that trust there with us, and it deepened that trust for them. I could go into many other details of other situations where we've had to be very creative. I believe actually at the conference that we were at, USO talked about it a little bit with us. But providing a transloading option was pretty unique. That's not something that happens all the time. But we've started doing that with many clients where we will take the shipment, we'll find a warehouse where we can offload it and then put it on the back of a flatbed and take that flatbed to the door. So we're able to provide two options there for them, whereas some other companies wouldn't be able to provide such a quick solution for them. So when they're stuck and they can't find the equipment, they can tap into Steam, and we're able to pull through for them. And that's always very rewarding.
That's a perfect example. I'd like to go back to customer success for a moment. On your website, there's a reference to a white glove experience. And I think I know what that means, but what does a white glove experience mean to Steam Logistics?
I guess in my mind, it's very much like fine dining, right? So you go and you have somebody really taking care of you, paying a lot of attention to you. Every 3PL has hundreds, thousands of customers, right? But our goal is to make it feel like they are the only customer that we have. And that's what white glove means to me. It's like that fine dining. It's providing, the extra things, providing extra visibility, extra communication, reporting, data, customer business reviews, visits. We even go so far, they've been online and they've been all over LinkedIn, and I get reached out constantly about our swag boxes that we send to our clients and customers. And they're just the little details of just saying, hey, we really appreciate you. We thank you so much for this business. We value your partnership, and we want to ensure that it lasts a long time. And so we're going to go above and beyond and make you feel and let you know that you're important to us. And so what it is that you need, we'll provide a solution. Communication is usually going to be pretty high in buying criteria for a customer, right? They want to have really clear communication. And so what do we need to do to go above and beyond to make sure that you get the communication that you require? And it's more than just asking for business. It's developing a really deep relationship. So to me, white glove experience is that above and beyond extra steps that you take. It's slowing down. It's reflecting on your business partnership. It's communicating and talking about what is working and what is not working. It's having hard conversations, but it's also having really positive conversations and showing through data how we are providing value to their supply chain. And it's just so rewarding. I've said that a few times, but it's very rewarding to be able to go above and beyond for a customer.
You made a comment a moment ago about providing data, and that is sometimes these things can feel very subjective. But by providing data, you make it more objective. You're providing client specific examples of kind of what you're doing. I was introduced, I don't know if I'm going to properly pronounce this term, but when you're talking about that little extra, I think the pronunciation is lagniappe, and I was introduced to it at a French restaurant.
Huh.
And what I understood a lagniappe is if the server brings out something you didn't order, but it enriches the dining experience, that would be considered a lagniappe. And that is, you didn't expect it, but then the server shows up and you kind of go, wow, I wasn't expect that. And the comment is the compliments of the house, if you would, is that it doesn't really matter what it is the server's bringing, but when it's done right, it's very clear that the diner is very, very important. It's critically important. And what you just described, I don't know what's in your swag box. You probably mix it up. What have you found is the most well-received item that's in a typical swag box?
Oh man, I guess it depends on the client. They really enjoy seeing pictures, right? So if we send a postcard with the actual team that manages and we put some personal touch behind it, that's really valuable to a client, because we live in such a world that is so digital, where everything is so like via email, via text. It's not personable. It's not in face. And so specifically, my group talks to that point. We talk about, hey, put on a Teams meeting, actually be in front of your client, send them a postcard that has your team's picture on it so that they see who it is that they're working with. Because, our work life is Monday through Friday, right? 8 to 5, sometimes more. But when you're that involved with another person, and some of these customers are, mom and pop type situations, they're not big corporate. And so they really, really love to see who it is that's managing this special item that they ship, that they have invested in, believe in, love, care for. Who's handling that? Who's handling the care of that item? So I think the pictures do the most value. Our swag boxes contain, theme logoed beneficial items like pens and notebooks, sticky notes. We also will sometimes, send other items nonchalantly or whatever from the individual, but those are what's typically in there.
So I love the idea of the pictures, and it's not just a generic picture. It's their team. They can look at that picture, set it up next to their computer, and basically say, those are the people who made that happen. Great idea. I love that.
Yeah. I think that just adds a personal touch, and it adds just a next level of value, something complementary that people just really value and find to be beneficial.
Heather, as you kind of reflect on our conversation, we've discussed primarily the topic of providing customers with best-in-class service, but we've expanded that to include internal customers, employees, and the like. What do you want to be the takeaways for our listeners?
I think creating an experience that is just very white glove service, best in class. I think those two terms really coin what it is that we offer at Steam. I think knowing that people coming to our industry to be employed within our industry, I want them to know that they have a lot of support here. I think that can be very scary jumping into this supply chain world when you're new and you've not had any experience or exposure to what it is that we do here. But I also think that what we add externally and the kind of experience that we create is very important. And I think that the biggest takeaway is for anybody in any business is that servant leadership and having that that creative approach to how you're going to support your team and your culture and your company is just kind of next level here. So if anything, that's what we want to know. I want people that look at Steam and see our expansive growth and see all that we're doing here. I want them to know that we've got a great culture, we've got a great infrastructure support, and we're very proud of it, and we're excited to see all the things that are happening for us.
Heather, you are a perfect ambassador for Steam Logistics.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your insights and a little bit of behind the curtain of Steam Logistics and what it really means to provide that type of white glove service. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Thank you so much for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
I also want to thank our listeners for joining us today. We upload the latest episode every Thursday to all the major platforms, including Apple and Spotify. So if you've enjoyed this episode with Heather, please subscribe. Are you trying to grow your business and want to make sure you've got the right people, processes, and planning systems in place to grow smoothly? If yes, let's talk. Head over to unstuck.show and schedule a quick non-sales call. We'll talk about your growth goals, and I'll offer you some actionable advice to help you grow your business. So I want to thank you for joining us, and I hope you have picked up on some tips from Heather that will help you get unstuck and on target. Until next time.